Hi, everybody. This is Marilyn. Do we have audio on this? Thanks. Um, Hi, everybody. This is Marilyn, and it's the noontime edition of Welcome to My World. It's the 22nd of December, which is a Tuesday. And this morning we had the final GDP number came out, just a 0.1% over the forecast. So I guess that's not the end of the world right now. Existing home sales fell a little bit, but we'll have to just wait. Tomorrow there is going to be much more economic news as well as the crude oil inventory. So I hope everybody is paying attention and learning from each other, because that's what this room is for. I have a question in here, or a comment from Jeff, and he's asking me about the expected ranges and targets for scalps and trends on crude oil. So I'll try to address some of that. Jeff, you have to ask me exactly what you want, but the way I look at this is, and it's an old post with old charts from a little over a year ago, but nothing's changed. Crude oil, and at first I was looking at all these charts and all this stuff and making myself crazy, and I couldn't figure anything out. So I just had to stop and get a bigger picture. Just get your nose off of the monitor. It's amazing what a little perspective will do. But I realized that crude oil it doesn't matter what day it is, it doesn't matter what the market conditions are, but all the bus drivers for crude oil in the little town of crude oil that go from one major street to the next street to the next street, they are extremely respectful of these assorted and sundry different levels. So having said that, I'll show you some of them. We'll go back and look at a couple of them. Having said that, then you have to, in my view, get a perspective. Everybody gets so focused on the what's happening now. Oh my goodness, where was there an entry? Get a bigger picture. Get the general idea of where crude oil is trading relative to settlement, relative to these new ICE. We didn't used to have the ICE, which are very helpful. And I like this 10-minute chart. I don't pay any attention to these MVP arrows too much on the 12 tick, but get a perspective of what the MVP is telling you, and then see how these 10-minute, I use the high open lows close bars just for a little different perspective. Some people, they want candles all the time. When I first started trying to trade crude oil, and believe me, when I first started that, I thought I can never learn to do that because the only people that trade crude oil futures are insane. So either I figured it out or I joined the insane. I mean, it's up to interpretation. But sometimes these range boxes, they're the range channels, Daryl calls them. They look like boxes to me. I don't need the top half to be green and the bottom half to be red to tell me if the bus driver's on the north side or the south side of these things. But I can tell you that if you have taken a trade in crude oil, I would be treating these range channels for an entry, very much like settlement. Be very careful about taking an entry into the bottom of a range channel or the top of a range channel, because that's likely not going to work out well for you. The bus drivers tend to turn the bus around at these. They will stay within for a long time, but when they get a load of passengers and they start off, you can go back and watch this over time, but you will see this at certain times of the day, which is the time we trade. In other words, don't worry about 7 o'clock at night, because one of the reasons that I have this time and sales up here for is to give you an awareness, gives myself an awareness. I have one right in front of my dome that I use to trade off of, just so I can notice what the overall volume is in here. If you look at this at 7 o'clock at night, there's going to be, I don't know, 4,200 or something. There's a big difference between 4,200 and 2, 3, 4, 500,000. You can expect when it's very, very low volume in contracts, you're not going to have a whole lot of movement in the market. And that goes for any of the markets. But my first assessment is to look at this 30-minute candle thing right here, because I want to know what the market has done overnight. It has drifted down overnight. This is from 4:30 or so. Right here is, midnight. Nobody's trading crude oil. Gets started about 3 o'clock in the morning. But I want to know, what has it done overnight relative to yesterday? It kind of drifted on down a little bit, so that when it comes to 7:30 or so, you have a pretty good idea of where it is relative to yesterday. Well, the other thing that you look at is over here, we've had a whole bunch of red apexes from yesterday. So now they changed to green, and now we've got a trend reversal. Well, if you look at this, this has come off of even the green ice and gone up quite a little bit, about 50 ticks. But if you get a bigger picture of where you are relative to whatever, then you can start to zero down of where you want to take some trades. And there was an excellent trade off of this 8:10 this morning, about 10 o'clock. The problem with this trade is, and this is crucial to trading, I keep talking about you have to learn to pee a lot. You have to be picky about your entries, but you have to be patient, very patient with your trade in order to profit. If you want to collect the profit, you're going to have to get the first two nailed. But right here, if you were looking at these swings, it came right off of the swing, but these change every 5 minutes. So what is this? This is 10, 20, 30 minutes. It just kind of sat there. And this is at right here on this one diagnostic bar. But you finally got an E here, and this was slow, very slow. But it was well worth the patience it took to take that either off of the E, which the rule is 3 ticks off the E, 5 ticks off the P. The P is down here, this right here, but this is the P bar right here. Let's say you missed those or you weren't real sure about it. What's this bar right here, the next one? It's one of Lori's slings, and it is pushing right off a settlement. So these are all good possibilities. Plus, you had this down here in the trend catcher telling you the same thing. So, and this trend, I don't know what you call this ribbon, but whatever it is. And look at this trend flip. It just stayed green, 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 green. So the other thing you kind of pay attention to is this deviation. And this mountain starts to build and keeps going on up here. This will go up when it's coming off a P right here. It will go up as long as this mountain goes up. So let's say you took that. Then if you want to catch the scalp off of that, and let's say you want 15 ticks or 10 or whatever your personal trading is, that's fine. If you can sit through trailing with this MVP, do it, because this is really, really, really good. But it's usually, for me, I can't do that. It drives me insane. I know it works. I know it works, but it drives me nuts. So what I do is I will take this right off of the P if I can get a fill, since it's above the settlement, and just sit there. The rule is your stop goes 5 ticks below the bottom of this P bar. Well, even if you put it a couple ticks below settlement and just left it there, then where is the bus going to go? Well, you know the bus has been over here at this, the bus driver went up to the high of yesterday. That's what this little dotted green line. Today's information is bigger and brighter and comes at you visually. Yesterday's information is faded and smaller. But the bus driver, trust me when I tell you, the bus driver knows where those price levels are. So the bus driver went to these 2 or 3 times this morning and just couldn't seem to get much interest in going past it. So if you took this, then you got a pretty good idea that it's at least going to go there, because the bus driver's already been there a jillion times this morning. But then when you see the RSI is continuing to climb and your deviation mountain is continuing to climb, then you can start trailing your stops. Say here at the open of today, and let it go on up. It gets up a little farther, and you can safely move your stop up to the high of yesterday, and it goes a little farther, and you keep going. Well, when it clears today's high, which is right here, and did not reject that, go up there and test it and reject it, then you're pretty darn sure it's at least going to this deviation. And so that would be a good take profit at that deviation. It's a matter of learning where the bus driver is going, and the bus driver loves all these streets. It just goes from one to the next to the next to the next. If that's too much for you and you prefer trading off of this I zone, then follow the rules for this I zone, because if you follow the rules, you'll get paid. And it's not, you don't have to do so much thinking and peeing and all that stuff, but then you're not going to get as much profit if you're scalping off of it. The other thing I would tell you is I find a 6-tick just about like this. I don't have the MVP, but it's the same thing pretty much. On crude oil, very, very useful, because while you're sitting here waiting with your patience running out, if you watch a 6-tick, keep in mind the 6-tick is half of 12 ticks, so it's going to move twice as fast. It will sometimes give you the confidence to just stay the course, stay where you are, don't get excited, follow the rules, because they all work. Does that help, Jeff? At least that's the way I do it. I mean, other people have a lot of different ways and ideas, and they're very successful. But yes, the question is that no, I'm doing this with futures, Abdul. So anyway, that's the way I do it, and it takes a little getting used to. If you are new, I would tell you to learn that in the first place. Take absolutely everything off your chart you don't absolutely need and use, and start with till you have got, do this in demo, do it in demo, do it in demo, and use the ease, and then watch from the ease. Ask yourself, where is the next most likely place that bus driver is going to stop for some passengers? And if the bus driver has cleared this, then keep trailing your stop up. You can trail with this power line right here, which forms off of the last P. And so then you're thinking, okay, so the bus driver got to here. Now where's he going to go? Well, the next place is the next street. And as long as your candles are green and as long as your mountain's climbing, the bus driver may take his time, but he will get there. The streets, Keith, are the deviation levels. So you got settlement and the deviation levels. The high and low, the open of today is this little dotted line, the cyan dotted. The high of today, the low of today, those are major, major streets. Deviation levels, the high of today, the low of today, and the deviation levels. The next most important streets, which are a little smaller and a little paler on here, are the prior day. There's a template for this in there, so you don't have to figure all this stuff out. The prior days ones. And those have about the same importance as these magnets that I put by hand out here. Okay? So those are the big streets. Then there are smaller streets, but no less important at the top and the bottom of these range channels or range boxes or whatever you want to call them right here. And sometimes the midline on here. And then refer to your 6-tick also. But those are the big streets. And in crude oil, the bus driver is, those streets are, those are where the bus stops are. Those are where the passengers are. And remember, the bus driver knows where he did business yesterday. And he will go back to see if there's any passengers there for his bus driving business. So, does that help a little bit? Because I don't know if I'm confusing people more than I'm helping or not. But to learn this, just get everything off of here you don't need, put the streets and the apex pattern on it. And once you see that, then you've got probably 80% of everything you need down. And then you can add the other stuff because you've got the basis, your 80% basis in your head, and you can add some more things and realize a lot more significance. I mean, they're just little helpful things like the ice and the volume and the swing, high and low, and things like that. But that's how it is. And yes, these are all recorded. Um, I don't know when or how or where, but I do know that I subscribe to Apex on YouTube, and then I get an email every time a new training of any kind is uploaded. So if it's something you were waiting for, you'll at least get an email notification. And they're in the forum, I guess, too. Can I elaborate more on not taking trades close to end of expected ranges? Yes, that's not going to work so well for you. I would not be taking a buy trade into the top of a range channel. If you're already in one and the bus driver's going your direction, then stay and see if he's going, because many times he goes, I mean, right to it. So take your take profit a tick or two below it. Make sure you get off in time. But I frankly, personally, don't care what else is happening. For instance, right here, let's say on this 8-10 tick, let's say this just went on down here to the swing, and you're supposed to take this. If it breaks out, you're supposed to take it 3 ticks below. Well, that would be 36.7. 36.7 down to 36 is only 7 ticks. There's not enough potential reward right there to suit my risk that I'm going to have to take to get 7 ticks. Not in crude oil. No way, no how. I'm not doing it. However, if you do, let's say you took a trade up there, then what you want to look for is this business right here. Just exactly what this did, because this is typical of what it will do at the top of a range channel. It will come off of there with a long wicked candle. So then you're looking for an entry to the downside. And you could take this short at 36.30, but you're going to find that your 6-tick chart helps you more with taking that short right there than this 12-tick, because you need some confirmation. I mean, you don't know if this is going to turn into one of Lori's elevators right here, because the bus driver is crazy, you know. The other thing that I would tell you is, see how this the MVP is putting in the predictor triangles right here. You get 3 or 4 of those predictors, 3, or I've seen it's even better, 4 or 5. That is a very strong resistance right there. It's a temporary resistance, but I would let it fiddle around right there and then look for another long if that levels out. And if you have traveled north on that bus for a while and you've been trying to follow it with the MVP, I strongly urge you, when this thing starts to level out like this, take your money and run. Yes, I'm being asked if can you apply this same thing to the indices? Yes, you need to check this out for yourself, because I never have done this in the indices. I prefer to scalp them, the Lori candy trades. But expand anyway. On the indices, I prefer to scalp them off of the Lori system. But crude oil, this is kind of, I've done this for about a year, and it seems to work for me. Now, for me, I've got way too much stuff on this chart. It just makes me nuts. But I do think it's useful to see what all is available, and then you can you're going to be better off with less stuff than you are with more stuff. It's easier to make decisions. So yes, and I'm being asked, can I expand my chart? Shows only half the screen. I'm not sure what you mean. You mean like that? Whoops. Is that what you mean, Keith? Is that easier to see when we do something like this? There's a lag on this camera thing of a few seconds. Look at this right here. 3 to 5 o'clock in the morning. These range channels were just so squished. It took over an hour for one candle to form. That takes a lot of patience, and my idea with that is, you know what, there's better trades. So those kind of things, it's not my cup of tea. But everybody has to decide what works for them. This is just what seems to work for me. Okay? So anything else anybody at Apex can help you with, by all means, just let us know, because we got a lot of people here with assorted and sundry markets they trade and different ways they do things. But start with the rules that are in the system, because Daryl has spent a great deal of time putting those trainings together, and there's been a whole team that tests those things to make sure that they do work correctly. And keep in mind, Santa's toy box is being worked on. So there'll be a few new wonderful things out. Every little thing helps, and you don't need every single one of them, but it does help. How can you change the wick color? Right here, you go to Data Series. Right here. And then you go over here to your chart, and where it says Chart Style and Wick, right here, it says you just click on whatever color you want. And especially to do Lori's system, I've got all my wicks turned to 2 from 1. So, because those slings are really, that's very, very cool, taking those things. Very successful doing those. I like that. So that's where you find that. And then when you get those on your chart, right-click your chart, go down to Templates, Save As, give that chart a name, and it will hold those wicks. And then do about what I forgot to do, and I'm going to do right this minute. Go to your file, workspace, and save workspace. That way they'll come right back tomorrow. Okay, I think we better wrap this up. I've probably bored everybody enough, so I'll come back at 2:30 and we'll see. Everything is just kind of in a bit of a, what I refer to as the dangerous mode. The market is very slow, and it's likely to stay that way until we might have another event like yesterday afternoon, where they get a little crazed going into the close. So anyway, I'll come back at 2:30 just in case there has been anything. And I'll see you then. This has been my view from my world in Apex land, brought to you by Apex Investing. Thanks.